We are out here at Aftershock Festival 2024 with my very first interview of the weekend with the legendary, the one and only Tim Montana. How are you doing, Tim?
By God, how are you? Better than I deserve. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. This weather this year is much better than last year. It was so hot, so I'm enjoying this nice weather that we got out here.
Yeah, it's great.
You've been traveling around. How's the weather compared to the places you've been playing?
It was very hot. God, no, we were in Connecticut with Creed. Almost died there. It was much hotter there.
Almost died.
And then the Seether tour, a lot of them have been inside, so they've been okay, but there were a couple hot ones. I forget. It's all a blur right now. We've been out for like 26 days. I'm like, I was in Connecticut. When was that? 3 years ago? No, that was a week and a half ago.
Well, let's go way back, though. I want to talk about your beginnings for some of my listeners that may not know. I thought it was pretty cool, like your trajectory of kind of the beginning of how you started and everything, and I want to talk about that. So I guess you're a Montana boy, though, right? Born and raised.
Third generation.
You moved out to L.A., though, in 2003, I think it was, and and you met a producer that changed kind of everything. What happened there?
Yeah, I met a blind guitar player named Johnny Highland, and my older brother's blind, so I had a connection with him, and I'd never seen anyone play a guitar like that. And if you don't know Johnny Highland, he's the most metal picker you've never heard of because he does it without distortion. Imagine Eddie Van Halen with no effects, but going 10 times faster. That's Johnny, and he's a big boy, too.
Unbelievable.
He's a very big man and just shreds. Terrifyingly. And then he's like, hey, move to Nashville, I'll give you lessons. And I went and took lessons from him, which oddly enough, me and Mark Tremonti talked about that. He did too.
The same person.
Yeah, the same guy. And I'm like,
wow.
Did you learn anything? He's like, yeah, but I also learned that there's no way I'll ever play like that. I'm like, yeah, that's a gift that comes from somewhere else. He's from a spaceship. But
right.
Growing up with a blind brother and a mom that's an interpreter for the deaf, if someone loses a sense, they gain another.
Right.
And I feel like with Johnny, he might have lost his vision, but his hearing and his tone and his speed are unmatched.
So you moved to Nashville, and then I heard you kind of connected with Billy Gibbons a little bit, and you met David Letterman.
Yeah, well, I moved to Nashville, did a record with Johnny Highland, got on David Letterman, thought I was going to hit it, didn't hit it, had to go back and make 3 more records before I met Billy Gibbons. And I met him, and Billy took me under his wing 11 years ago in September. He found me, and we did This Beard Came Here to Party, became the theme song for the Red Sox. I don't watch sports, so don't judge me. But we got to go to Fenway Park, paint home plate, and that started an 11-year relationship with Billy Gibbons, and I've opened for ZZ Top 75 times now.
And Billy Gibbons, he was on your 2016 album, a couple of tracks on that album,
Yeah,
right?
we did California Love together with Matt Sorum. We did This Beard Came Here to Party. We've written and collaborated a ton. And then we started a hot sauce company together. We bought a lodge in Montana called the Wise River Club, where I now live. And it's like rock and roll meets the Old West. You can check it out, wiseriverclub.com. That's where we didn't launch. We took over an iconic historical building and made it rock and roll.
That's unbelievable, man.
It's got a little casino, food, prime rib on Saturdays, folks. By God, it's awesome.
Well, okay, let's talk about the studio. When you go in the studio, do you have a plan to capture everything as live as possible? Or are you guys like more melodical, kind of record everything individually and separately? What's your approach?
We don't demo. We approach a demo as a master because now that I live in the mountains of Montana, when either they come to me or I go to them, I'm like, let's treat this vocal as the master vocal. And so the record Savage, a lot of those were the day we wrote them. Like, for instance, Devil You Know was all of that stuff you hear was the day I demoed it.
That's killer,
and the storm rolling in was all of a sudden the storm in the beginning came in, and the vocal was a demo. But we don't even call it demo. We're just like, if we're going to record, let's record for real.
Hell yeah.
All we did afterwards was go in the studio and add drums.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome, man. Well, I was just going to say, Devil You Know, Savage died today. Shut Me Out. We've been playing them on our radio station, 105.7 The Bear.
Much.
It really cuts through the mix, too. I got to say, there's a lot of generic stuff out there, and I really like what you're doing. It's different, and it's also in the same vein of what our listeners love.
Yeah.
And it's really creative and refreshing.
Yeah, it's like a throwback to that grunge era I grew up listening to. I mean, somewhere between Stained and Nirvana and Alice in Chains. I get compared to Alice in Chains a lot, and I'll take it all day.
Hell yeah, man.
Because I love Jerry and the guys. And which is kind of a modern throwback to what I think is one of the greatest eras of rock and roll.
Hell yeah, I'd have to agree with that. All right, any plans for 2025 that you can let us know about?
Miles Kennedy and I are going to be hitting it hard. We start January 17th in Joliet, Illinois. I'll be direct support for him, and we're rolling all the way through end of February. I love it. He's a Spokane guy, so the tour ends in Spokane late February, and it's 4 hours from my house, so it's perfect.
Right on, like a homecoming in a way.
And then I'm sure we're going to be announcing a lot of big touring next year because we're going to keep this ball rolling, man.
Hell yeah, man. Well, guys, check it out. TimMontana.com. Grab that new album, Savages. Check out all the merch, tour dates, and more. Tim, thank you so much for coming out here tonight.
Thanks for having me.